Thank you very much for the introduction. I'm a short notice replacement for the CEO who has come back from Finland a couple of days ago and literally can't speak at all with a sore throat. So I apologise if I'm a bit less polished with this talk than she would be, in that I saw it for the first time this morning myself. Anyway, Valirx. We're a biopharmaceutical company, and I'm afraid that's the lawyer's revenge we all suffer. My problem with this slide is the symmetry of the paragraphs is not as good as the last version, but never mind. It does say that we hurt your wealth if we get it wrong, as has been pointed out. What are we? Well, we're a clinical stage life science company doing all the things that have just been described. We focus particularly on cancers, and we do this both diagnostically and therapeutically. The buzzline there is personalised medicine. By personalised medicine, I think it's just tailored therapy to the individual, which has become very important, particularly with the more expensive and more esoteric therapies and treatments which we have. We've all seen the Cancer Research UK advert, which says that most people now live and survive with cancer rather than die. That's down to personalised and tailored therapies. It is a great deal easier these days than it was 10 years ago even to survive long-term with cancer. What do? Well, quite simply, we have a range of compounds which we get from world-leading institutions. We make sure that we have full rights on them. We make sure that we know what they do and what we think they can do. We take them from the lab and push them right through to the point where we can partner them, as was also suggested earlier, with larger companies who are experts in marketing, positioning and selling of drugs, a highly expensive and highly specialised activity of which we, who are either investment or lab-based people, really don't have a good feel for. So therefore, that's what we do. What are our key achievements just recently? Well, I'm quite proud of what we've done in the last couple of years. 18 months ago, we were just about to enter clinical trials. Our first compound, 201, which I'll describe in a bit more detail later on, is now in clinical trial, and the phase 1 part of this trial is now showing the fact that the drug is well tolerated and safe, and I will go into details on that in a minute. The trials are being undertaken at UCLH, and we are about to open a second site on that to do a wider efficacy study over the next short while. We've also used our biomarker and diagnostics in this to show how the drug works and that it does work in humans, and that again is internally developed by us and has been successful, and we are beginning to partner that with other partners and other people outside Valirx in areas where we're not interested. We have a second compound or group of compounds called Val101, which is a very novel way of stopping rebellious genes from expressing themselves. This is preclinical, and it's so novel that it's taking a lot of development work. Currently, that's mostly sponsored and supported by European Union, British government and Finnish government money, although we do use some of our investors' money too, obviously. There's the full product pipeline that we have. I'm not going to go through it in detail. It is available on our website if anyone wishes to go through it in detail. But basically, the key points to note are that Val201 for prostate cancer is progressing through phase 1/phase 2 clinical trials at the moment. Val401 will enter clinical trials very shortly, and hopefully not far behind that, we will have sufficient ability to take 101 through to the clinic as well. And I said and promised you that I'd talk more about 201. Currently, it's probably the most important thing within the company. It's a novel drug in that it is a peptide drug, which are now about 20% of clinical trials in Europe, and it is very, very specific in its mode of action. It is mostly used in hormonally induced cancers, such as prostate cancer, such as some ovarian and breast cancers, and it also has applications in endometriosis, an indication we shall start hopefully trialling during 2016. It works by a very specific interaction which prevents testosterone and estrogen promoting the cell division and growth that causes prostate cancer and ovarian cancer. However, we have in this product developed a very specific mechanism which means the side effects of impotence, osteoporosis and neurological conditions are avoided. It only shuts down cell growth. And so far in preclinical and early indications in clinical is that we have seen this work quite well in patients. It's not only good, and as Sutter would say, if you look at the graph in the top right-hand corner, invest on the red line. That's the compound, and it shows the loss of cellular growth over a period of time. We are witnessing the same in early stages in the human trials as well, but it is far too early to make any speculation as to the outcome on that. The other thing which you would hope for and expect, but is rather spectacular, and I was surprised when we got this result. It was an experiment I personally decided we needed to do. If we prevent the growth of the main cancer, we also stop the progression of metastatic cancers. These are secondary cancers, and we get an up to 50%, well, 48.9% or whatever it is, reduction in metastatic activity. This is a consistent finding. I just put this particular chart up to show you the sort of dose ranging that we've done. The dose ranging seen here at the bottom is very similar to what we're using in humans in the clinical trials. The middle two bars on that are where we are currently. Oops. Val 401, right. That's a new compound to us. We've had it in the company's portfolio for just over a year now. It's one we've been following, and it's a reformulation product. It's a drug that has been used for other indications in the past, and the team based out of now Leeds and with ourselves had discovered strong anti-cancer activities in a number of cancers. The cancers that they found was particularly effective in were prostate cancer, breast cancer, and pancreatic cancer. However, the most exciting thing was in non-small cell lung cancer, for which, frankly, there are no real long-term treatments. The activity of this compound is very great. We are currently in the late stages of designing a clinical trial for a phase 2, which is to show that it works in a relatively limited number of people so that we can partner it with a large corporation following those trials. We expect that to start early next year. It's a very promising, quick to market product with low risk in that this particular drug has been in humans for 25, 30 years and is actually used in oncology quite a lot, but in pain management and in terminal cases where, frankly, there's a lot of mental issues concerned. I have high hopes for this one, but it's, as I say, early days yet with respect to whether it's going to work for us perfectly. Now we come on to our rebellious genes and 101. Now this was the original cause for Valirx to be set up. It's quite simply, what we do is when a gene is expressed in the wrong place, you have unserious consequences, like for instance cancer, like for instance metabolic disease, and various other structural type diseases. We have a molecule or set of molecules which find these genes, bind to them and stop them expressing at the wrong moment, therefore presenting a situation where the disease does not progress. We have an example in tumours on the right there, which are in xenographic mice, where, as you can see, untreated mice, the cancer grows in the normal way over a month. But if we treat it with 25 micrograms, which is a very small amount of compound, at day 5, and that's the only treatment here, you have suppressed the growth for a month on its own. The orange line is a slightly different dose. I think it was actually 30 micrograms, but it was a similar amount. It just happens to be what was on the chart. I like that a lot. However, it's a very novel mechanism, and for that reason, regulatory approval is Not difficult, just far more demanding. We are there with it, but it is a little way off being tried in humans sensibly. I think it will be the back end of next year. Biomarkers, right, well we have several things here. Biomarkers are very simply a highfalutin term for what every medic has always done, symptom measurement. If you have diabetes, they look at your glucose level or your insulin level, or these days, your glycosylated proteins. If you have AIDS, they look at your cell numbers just to see that you're okay. If you have cancer, they look at a range of factors like cell numbers, like cancer cells, and somebody will be talking about those a little bit later, and the rest. However, there are also various chemicals that are very specific to each type of cancer. They're not unique, and you have to use them as a panel. Now, we have this system track, and there are other ways of doing this. You can use ultrasequencing, as the Sanger Institute and many do, and we do as well. However, that's expensive, still relatively slow, and not very applicable in a day-to-day analytical or diagnostic situation. With track, we can look at these particular markers very easily at the level of nucleic acid and come up with prognostic and diagnostic propositions. This is an acquired technology which we've been following and actually using for several years. We took it over about a year ago now, and we are beginning to see some revenue streams from that. You won't see anything much to our report and accounts though yet, and that is a while away yet. Where do we position the company? Well, there's academia. As I said, we go and find stuff in academic labs that everyone thinks is worth billions. They're always worth billions. Most of the time, they're worth nothing at all. We are experts, having been in that situation and the rest of it, of taking these compounds, packaging them, developing them in such a way that big biotech and big pharma can actually market and sell. Big pharma no longer does R&D itself. It contracts it, and as we've heard earlier already, this is what they do. We are the bridge, or a bridge, between the academic and the biopharmaceutical companies. We have a management team with more years than most of us would care to mention experience of doing this with considerable success. What we actually do is take stuff at discovery, push it through preclinical, which is usually a 4 or 5 year process, and take it into early to mid-stage clinical. When we sell it through, either by licensing, partnering, or out-and-out sale to big pharma. All our products are likely to be marketed that way, including some of our diagnostic products. And we have had some minor effects of that already within Valirx, but more will be coming fairly shortly as the clinical trials progress. Who do we work with at the moment? Well, the usual great and the good. I think the most exciting ones here are Imperial College, who developed GeneIce, and University College, where we're doing our clinical trials, and the German Cancer Research Foundation, who are doing quite a lot of research for us. The Institute Paoli Calmetti is interesting because most of us have had a BCG injection at some point in our life. The C in that is Mr. Calmetti, who was a medic sometime in the early 20th century. And of course, because of our origin, we have significant activities in Finland. Who are we? Well, usual string of market professionals, scientists, and industry specialists. Myself, I'm Chief of Operations, PhD in biochemistry, and it says 25, I'd say nearer 35 years experience. Satu Vainikka, our CEO, is out of Finland, and a PhD in molecular biology and considerable scientific and industrial experience. Oliver, our chairman, has been a sales and marketing guy with Roche, Glaxo, etc., etc., etc. in his time, and has been a city analyst as well. So we are an experienced team of directors. In summary, what do we do? 201, clinical trials. Phase 1, more or less done. Phase 2, our trial goes right through phase 2. It is safe, it is tolerated to date. That is 90% of the battle. We know the stuff works. The question is how well, and this is the risk factor. I think it's going to work really very well in the particular niche of prostate cancer which we have, and I wish I had a lot more time to go into the technical reasons for that. I don't in 15 minutes. Val401, lung cancer, small cell, an untreatable disease in most respects. We have something that does work for a significant number of people. We will know whether that's true within 18 months. GeneIce, our gene silencing 101 platform, potential for fast and rapid development of many, many proliferative diseases and other metabolic diseases. And we have the technical and biomarker analytical capacity to follow on and support these. We are using that internally and generating very small, I repeat, very small revenues from our biomarker activities. If anyone wants further information, we have the website Valirx PLC. I apologise, it needs a little bit of an update. We are a small team. It's a lot of effort to get those done. Other than that, some contact details, and thank you very much for listening.